Welcome to the Win, Make, Give podcast. Chad Hyams here, Bob Stewart over there. Bob, how you doing?
You want some TMI?
I'll take it. Do you want to share it with our 11 or 12 listeners?
This is our second recording of the day. We recorded.
Stop ruining that. Yeah.
Well, we recorded with our friend Lucas earlier, and then I asked you if you could give me like 15 minutes before we picked up this episode that we're about to do, and then I had three things in my head that I wanted to get done. And so then I did the first one and I did the second one. And then I'm like, oh God, I asked Chad for 15 minutes, probably been like 18 minutes. I had to get back there. And the third one kind of eluded me until I sat down and I texted you. The third one was I had to go potty, Chad. And I didn't. So I'm going to be sitting over here, maybe bouncing around a little bit for this one. I might sound a little bit extra on edge, but I think I'm okay.
All right. And it might be, audience, we might be done this one in 12 minutes today because Bob might just say, no, that's it. Can't do it.
We'll see how good my bladder is. I just had a doctor's appointment recently, Chad. By the way, everybody should go get your blood work done. I got all my blood work done, and my lipoprotein A is a little bit high, which is not something you can control. It's like a hereditary thing, but it's a marker for potential heart disease in the future. You guys please get your blood work done. Ben encouraged me to go do that. And so it had been 2 years since I'd had it done. But,
I talked with one of our guests about that on a recent episode, Bob, when you were away. We talked about that. And one of the things that I want to remind our audience, because I know Ben has been pushing a lot of people to go get blood work. Everybody has to remember, when you go get your blood work done, don't panic. Don't think everything's great. Don't think everything's horrible. It's only a snapshot in time. And until you go back 3 months later or 6 months later, one or the other, and get more blood work done, you don't know what's a trend and what's just a fluke thing that's happening. Right? I get my blood work done every time I'm at a new doctor and I get my blood work done. They're like, oh my gosh, your white blood cell count's way low, blah, blah, your heart rate way too low. We think that you're dying. Right. And it's like my wife, like I have had a low blood for my whole life. Like that is just, it's always been that way. And they're like, oh, right. Because they just look at a snapshot in time. And unless you are looking at 3 months previous or 6 months previous, so you can say it's up, it's down. No, look, it's consistent. Then you can start to say, what supplements do I need to add? What dietary changes might I need to add? What treatment do I need to undergo? Don't panic when you go get blood and then start changing everything until you've done it twice.
I think my doctor might also be Trump's doctor. He said it's the greatest physical he's ever given in his life. It was the blood work was immaculate. It's the best blood work he's ever seen. Except for that lipoprotein A, which is a little high, but that's my dad's fault. So, and my grandma's doing.
And then somehow your BMI number, you're considered obese because they don't take anything into account on that properly. So we're all obese. I am obese when I go to the doctor, according to the BMI chart that they have.
I did. You know what's funny though? They didn't make they. And I don't. Has this always been? They don't make you take your shoes off when you get measured.
Get on the scale anymore, right?
Yeah, which was shocking to me because I'm like, wait, what? Like, so she said, she read off, she's like, well, you're 6'3.5". I've been 6'2" my whole life. This was amazing to me. And like by some dumb stroke of luck, because I didn't know that was going to happen, I did have on like probably one of my taller pairs of shoes, like had some Yeezys on and they just have very like thick soles on them. But I'm feeling pretty good, bud. Like the blood work checked out okay. And I'm 6'3.5" apparently with shoes on. So
now you can finally dunk. Okay. Bob, here's my question. Here's my question though. You do live in the Pacific Northwest. I do understand that. And that could be the answer. Not only do you have your hoodie on that you wear every day, right? Yeah. I know it's not the same one. I know it gets washed. I'm not saying that.
But it is the same exact hoodie. I just have 10 of them.
Same one. Yeah. You actually have the hood up. Like, are you cold?
Yeah.
In July?
Well, here's the deal. It's 90 degrees here in Washington today. It very rarely gets to 90, Chad. A couple of years ago, I was probably 7 or 8 years ago, we bought this house. Homes in Washington, for the most part, don't come with air conditioning.
Right.
Like some of the newer construction on the high end obviously will, right? But like most homes don't come with air conditioning. So we buy this house, doesn't have air conditioning. Probably the second year we're here, it might get to 90 degrees in Washington State, 1 or 2, maybe 3 days a year, right? Yep. Now, upper 80s is still like uncomfortable, but I don't know, second or third year we're here, it gets a couple of those days in a row. I think we might have even got to 100. I think we took our kids. They were young, at least one of them was young. I don't know if the other one was born. We went and stayed at a hotel that had air conditioning. Like, it was brutal around here. And then my wife was like, we got to get air conditioning. I'm like, what, for like 2 or 3 days a year? Which, by the way, 10 years later is probably 10 or 12 days a year where it gets up to 82 or something where you got to kick that AC on. But I was like I'm like, no, please, no. Like, that's $15,000, $18,000, whatever's going to come. Like, no. She won, obviously. And so we have air conditioning here. It's 90 degrees outside. Well, down in my basement, they got the AC kicking upstairs, but obviously heat rises, right? So that AC is keeping them nice and comfortable upstairs. In the basement, it's like a freaking icebox down here. And so that is why even though it's 90 degrees outside, I am down here with my hood on my hoodie up around my ears because it's kind of chilly in my basement.
Okay.
These are
like hopefully you all got that.
These are first world problems, by the way. First world problems. I feel very fortunate to have them.
Yes, first world problems. Hopefully everybody got that. Bob went a little robot on me. Hopefully it's not his internet.
Chad, I heard something recently that I thought was really, really powerful. I'd heard somebody say, like we all have our problems, right? Would you? Here, I'll ask you, Chad. You got a certain set of problems that would you throw your problems into a big pool in the middle, and everybody in the world had come up to this pool and everybody threw their own problems in there? Would you participate and just randomly grab out somebody else's problem? Or are you okay now with your own problems? Like, there's no way, right? There's no way I would be like, I want the random chance of somebody else's problems. Like, oh, no way.
No. Keep my problems. I'm good with them. Thank you very much. Turn on the air conditioning when it's needed. I live in Florida. There's about 9 or 12 days out here we don't run the air conditioning, Bob.
Right. When we first moved to Arizona, Kevin and Fred were our realtor. And I don't know, Kevin, one of them told me, you're going to keep, in the summertime, you're going to keep your AC at 78. And I'm like, 78? The hell I am. Like, that's way too hot. There's no way. About a week into the first summer, trying to keep it AC, actually it was a month in because I had to get the first bill. You keep your AC in Arizona at 78, dude. Trying to get to 74 cost me like $380 more than my normal electricity bill. But,
yes, ours runs at 79 actually during the day here in Florida. Yeah. We have ceiling fans, and at bedtime it does drop a little bit more. And because thankfully the sun's down, it's easier and it doesn't kill the bill as much.
What are we talking about today? Forget all.
Nothing. Apparently, we're just talking about you have to go to the bathroom and you're cold with air conditioning. That's what we're talking about apparently today. I'm not sure. No, Bob, we're going to talk today about something that I think a lot of the people on our call, the people that are Win Make Give listeners, would really take the time, dive into, grab a notepad. We're going to take you through ways to build a team that thinks, acts, and delivers like business owners. Because, Bob, there is nothing more frustrated than working with somebody that's just an employee, right? They're going through the motions. They're doing the minimum standards that you've set. They don't really care. The ideal employee is basically a partner, right? Maybe who understands you're the leader, they're not when push comes to shove. Yet we want people, the term that I hear out there is that intrapreneur, right? They're not an entrepreneur. They're not going and starting their own business, yet they're an intrapreneur within your organization as it grows. So we're going to talk about some lessons today, Bob, on how to build those people so that we all grow together.
Okay. We want to build a bunch of people that show up to our business, but they think about it like their business. They have this ownership. Ben talks about an ownership mentality versus a renter's mentality. Yes. I don't know if any of you guys are real estate investors, but a lot of times you're my house is a little bit more well upkept than the renter decides to keep the rental that we rent to them, right? So I love it. Let's go.
Okay. And absolutely, that was the great analogy, right? Being the owner versus being a renter. We don't want to employ renters. Ben's done a great job of letting the renters realize it's time to move to another property, right? And making sure that every owner he can keep in the organization. So number one, Bob, is we want to shift that task management. We want to get away from task management and we want to shift to outcome ownership. Okay. Stop giving people to-do lists. Stop giving people tasks. Start assigning them outcomes. This is what we need to happen. So when you tell someone how to do everything, they just hand it back to you, right? They say, okay, here you go. And if it breaks along the way, here it goes. What is it that Ben used to always say? When I give you potatoes, I want French fries back. Right? He doesn't care whether they're curly fries. He doesn't care whether they're steak fries. He doesn't care whether they're, twice fried, whatever they are. He doesn't want to say, this is what I want you to do, Bob. Go do A, B, C, D. He says, come back with French fries. You go figure out how to make it happen. This is step one, Bob, to help us go from just employees to having intrapreneurs working with us.
I haven't, when COVID hit around here, our business, I think in the month of March of 2020, I want to say we lost 28% of our revenue or something insane. Like we had a massive number of cancellations. It was, it was massive. And Ben came to our group and he said, I need all of you guys to find 20% of expenses to reduce in your lane. And he could have come to us and said, here, we need to cut 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 things. I spent a bunch of time last night figuring out where there's, and you guys go cut these things, right? That would have been a task-based, management. He said, I control this. I know what needs to go. He didn't say that. He just came to us and said, I need an outcome from you guys. I needed the outcome to be a 20% reduction in our expenses. Go. Which, by the way, I think I didn't realize this because I told you before, Chad, I didn't look at any of the notes you sent me, which I do sometimes. Sometimes I don't look at Chad's notes. I didn't realize the second one is actually a perfect segue over to that.
So keep going.
Should I go? All right. Chad gave me you guys can't see him, but he gave me the roll on with it, Bob. Roll on with it. Lesson or tactic number 2 is teach the financial scoreboard. Like if you want your employees to think like intrapreneurs, to think like owners, they have to know what is happening in this business. Like, where does our revenue come from? How much is it? What are our expenses? How much are they? Like, and I'll be honest, it's possible that before that, Chad, I can't remember if I'm sure I had access to the books, but I don't know that I was looking at them. I don't know that we were treating it like a scoreboard necessarily. And maybe it was the jolt of COVID and that, like, it'll be very rare for the rest of our lives probably that we'll ever see a month where we lose 28% of the revenue that we spent 10 years building up, right?
Right.
But that became this time where it was like, okay, I mean, Ben really opened the books to everybody, to all of our leadership, because we had some really hard decisions. Are we going to lay people off, which he'd never done before? How are we going to weather this? And this was COVID. Like, we don't even know how long we're weathering this for, right? But he just totally opened the books to everybody, to all of us. He said, hey, here's our revenue. Here's what happened. Here was last month's revenue, and here's this month. And you guys can all see that dip. Like, this is what we're faced with. And I think that, I don't know, that willingness for him to be vulnerable with us, to really bring us in and feel like, wow, we not only are we out here running the business and making decisions and being given, ownership outcomes. Like, here's the scoreboard. Are we winning, you guys? Are we losing? Like, is this going to be even a viable business in 2 years if we don't go win right now on this scoreboard? I think that was a really big deal in turning a lot of us in the organization into thinking more like an owner. He brought us along for the ride.
It's the perfect transition, Bob, to be able to have that lesson to give to people if we want ownership out of them, right? Let them know the numbers, let them see the numbers, so they're not just sitting there thinking, oh, you're making all this money, I have no idea where the money's really going, or not understanding why we had to cut this or get rid of that because they're not paying attention to it. I had assistants along the way when I was in positions that said, look, your bonus is based on profitability, and there's two ways we profit. We increase our income or we reduce our expenses. Why don't I work on increasing our income right now? Why don't you work on reducing our expenses so profit becomes bigger? Because then you're going to get a percentage of, and immediately turn them into intrapreneurs in the organization they're ready to help.
I love it.
All right. Number 3, and I love this one. And folks, I'm going to teach you what we call the 3 before me problem solving rule, only because it sounds catchier, 3 before me, right? I don't care if it's only 2, really. Yet the 3 before me problem solving rule is making sure that when people have an issue, they bring 3 possible solutions and then tell us which one they're going to recommend. Now, Bob, what would be the power behind making you bring at least 2, if not 3 possible solutions, instead of you just coming and telling me what your problem is, which is what a renter personality would be doing, that owner, that intrapreneur we're looking to develop? If I'm making you bring me 3 and then tell me which one you're recommending, what's the difference that really happens there?
I mean, I think you start to create a bunch of problem solvers instead of a bunch of order takers. Like there's a guy, he doesn't work with us anymore, but I loved him. He was just a problem solver. Like, he was the guy I knew I could go to when I had a problem. Like, I was leading this guy, but I'm like, this dude is super curious and he is going to get to the bottom of this thing. And, I don't think he ever once brought me a problem to solve for him. I shouldn't say that. There was probably a few times where he needed some assist, but he was always the type. We didn't train him. Some people just show up this way. Maybe it was a product of his upbringing or something, right? He'd come to his dad and say, "Dad, I can't do this." And his dad would say, "Well, what are the 3? What are your 3 ideas of how you're going to do it?" Right. I tried to do that, by the way, more with my kids. Like, I've been actually trying something just in general in life, Chad, which is trying not to have the answer. I think I told you that recently. Like, I don't have to have an answer or an opinion on everything. But this starts to build, it builds thinkers and problem solvers. That at its core, that's what it does in your organization. It builds thinkers and problem solvers instead of order takers and task checker offers.
Yeah, if everything looks like a nail, I run around with a hammer, right? I don't think, oh, wait, maybe there's another solution to this. And what happens when I get out of my own preconceived notion of this is the only way to solve this problem? I start to see 2 or 3 other ways to solve the problem. Now I start to open my thinking. Now I start to become creative. Now I start to realize, oh, there's more than one solution. And most importantly, Bob, the reason for the 3 before me is because I'm just going to let you solve my problems instead of me having to waste my energy doing it. If I know every time I come to you and I say, Bob, what should we talk about this week? Bob, what should we talk about this week? Bob, what should we talk about this week? I know you're going to solve the problem for me. So I don't have to think. I don't have to waste the energy because you'll solve it. Instead, I should be bringing 2 or 3 options to the table again and again, which is how we do the episode. What's going on in your world, my world, the people around us' world? What are we hearing? What's that episode look like? We'll bring 2 or 3 topics and say, let's go after this one this week.
I don't even come to Ben anymore with questions that I don't have a couple potential, at least 2 potential solutions to. Yep. I don't always go to 3, but always 2, because I know for a fact when I say, hey, I got this problem, or we got this problem happening, here it is. 100% of the time, his first thoughts out of his mouth, his first words out of his mouth are, what do you think we should do? Like, he doesn't ever lead with advice. He always says, what do you think we should do? And I'm so used to that now that I never go to him with a problem that I don't at least have, sometimes I don't have an answer, but I'm like, well, here's what I'm thinking. Like, we could go this route, or we could maybe go this route. I don't know what the outcome is going to be in either of those lanes, but, then he'll start to give me input or start to help me think through an answer. But the reality is most of the answers we end up with in our world are just a series of really good questions from Ben back to me, who he just wishes I probably would have never brought him the question, the problem in the first place, like just figure it out, which a lot of times that, probably more today than ever, he doesn't see most of these problems because a lot of us have been given that, that a lot of us have that intrapreneur mindset, or a lot of us have ownership in the company today, right? So we have an ownership mindset beyond an entrepreneur mindset.
Which segues us into the next one very nicely, Bob, which is giving autonomy with some clear guardrails, right? Ben has said to you, don't bother me if it's a $500 or less decision. Just go make it, right? If you're saying, well, I think we might need this product. Okay, don't bother me with it. Bob, I've given you up to this guardrail. I've given that person up to this guardrail because they've earned that, or I'm giving this person only this much guardrail, right? Whether it's money, whether it's dealing with a complaint, whether it's removing somebody from the organization that needs to be done. I'm sure not every replacing of a person goes in front of Ben, right? Yeah. No, I've given you the guardrail. If you don't think that person's getting the job done, Bob, you have the right to do that. This is going to be the next step in helping people go from, not only should you be bringing me more than one opportunity from every problem, I'm going to also give you the opportunity to say, here are your guardrails. Make decisions within here without even bothering me.
Yeah, this has been a long time philosophy of his. Like I've grown up essentially, and this was, Washburn was like that. Like I had people at market, Ian Morris was like that. Like these are just people that, you have to earn. I think you earn this. Like nobody walks into our organization on day one and people are like, you can give away $1,000 if you want to one of our customers. Like you kind of earn the right, or you understand the culture. And like, I think at the very end of the day, Ben, like we do the right thing, right? Like I've never seen Ben, over money anyway, do the wrong thing. Like I really haven't. And so, there's some clear guardrails. I'm not going to be out there, giving back a year's worth of, money to somebody who claims they didn't know that we were charging them $800 a year. I'm not going to drop 10 grand back at somebody because I think the right thing to do would be to believe this story or whatever, right? But, man, there's decisions made every single day around here that bump right up against a $10,000 decision that we've earned the right to make. And I made the wrong ones over. Like I can remember one time Ben bringing me in and being like, did you do this? I'm like, I did. And he's like, why would you do this? I'm like, well, here was my thinking, right? Like I felt like, we'd made a promise to these people. We didn't deliver on that promise. And I didn't feel comfortable taking their money for those 6 months while they were under one assumption. And we, I don't know. There might've been a little period after that where he made my guardrails a little tighter or something. But, I think that gives people the freedom to play around, to make mistakes, to, really, really take ownership in the decisions. And there's nothing worse as an employee. I played the front lines of customer service in a lot of our worlds for years, Chad. And there was nothing worse than being like, well, let me check and see if we can give you your $39 back, right? And I hated in those days seeing another one of my colleagues or somebody I was leading who felt like they didn't have the authority to do the right thing by our customer for $50. Like to me, that was still to this day, it drives me nuts when I run into something like that, where I'm like, you work at freaking McDonald's, this large corporation, or you can't replace my cheeseburger without checking with somebody. Like that's what I understand.
And that's why they have employees, not entrepreneurs, working in a situation like that. They haven't earned it. If they're going to earn that right, then they're usually being promoted up the chain. And that's the person who the other person's going to anyway and saying, can I do this? Bob, think about at home, only because you have little-ish ones at home. Where are the guardrails for them that they're allowed to do decision-making although there's this guardrail around it. Do you have anything like that with the kids? So just so we're saying, folks, you can this again, we do this at Win Make Give. We might teach business lessons, yet they're also life lessons.
I'm just thinking of one that's like, this is silly and little and
I put
dumb.
you on the spot. That's okay.
Yeah, but like the boys, they both have to read for a minimum of 20 minutes every single day. Okay. That's the guardrail. I don't give a shit what they read. I got one boy, he's reading, it has to be a physical thing though. Like we want him off of the pads and that, right? Okay. But it's got to be but I don't care. Like I don't care if he picks up some sports magazine that came in the house because dad was a moron and ordered the subscription because it seemed cheap. I didn't, or if it's Harry Potter or like, it doesn't matter to me what it is. I just want them to read. And so they have the autonomy to decide what that is. Again, silly example, but
I had the same thing when I was a kid. I remember because I was a latchkey kid, right? That was much more common because parents didn't work from home as much back when we were kids. So it was get home, right? My parents knew I was going to have a snack, but there were guardrails around it so that I didn't just eat everything in the house before dinner and then I was too full to have dinner, right? So it was like, you can have one snack when you get home and here's the snack shelf, right? So pick whatever you want. You can have one thing because we know you're going to want a snack. Yet that way we know you'll still have whatever it was. There were guardrails. Now, as I got older, the guardrails changed to just don't fill yourself up before dinner, right? They got looser and looser. Then I got to a point where they were like, look, if you don't want dinner, we don't care anymore. You're old enough. That's your problem. You figure it out. Folks, guardrails help us make decisions with the boundaries so we're safe to make those decisions.
Love it. Love it.
Next up, compensation. Align compensation with value creation. Very few people are going to become value creators in your organization on a flat hourly rate.
Yeah, with no upside.
Right. There's got to be the incentive that comes along with it, whether it's a bonus, whether it's a percentage, whether it's a commission that says, do this and we'll do that for you. Now I'm sitting there saying, well, if I can cut 10% of the expenses, they said they'd give me 5% of them for 3 months, right? Or something like that. Now I'm looking closer at, well, I should stop ordering so much ink for the printer or wasting this paper or doing this so that we can bring expenses down because it could be more money in my pocket. My compensation is coming along with the value creation, whether that's, again, a bonus, a commission, whatever it is. People aren't going to become intrapreneurs on a fixed salary with no opportunity.
This is a huge deal, I think, on expenses as your organization grows. Like growing organizations' expenses with nobody's job to be to keep them down and and again, you can't just put an hourly employee there because their job is to keep them down. But like, what do they care if it was $1,000 worth of printer ink or $1,500 worth of printer ink, Chad? They're not going to investigate that at all. It's just their job to be like, yeah, we need printer ink, right? But like, having an actual, like, I love this idea, having a bonus for your director of operations tied to a monthly reduction in expenses, like that's really powerful because now they care about, well, wait a minute, why last month was the $1,000 of ink, but this month's $1,500? Like what? You guys are letting the guy next door come over here and print all his paper copies on our machine? Like, what? Why did you do that? Right? It costs me, the owner, right? And I'm not the owner. I'm this intrapreneur who's been given some ownership by way of aligning my compensation with the value I'm creating by keeping our expenses low. Like, yes. I care now about that thing where I may not have before. And the business owner cared the whole time that we were letting the neighbor guy come over and use $500 worth of ink every month. Right.
I had an opportunity, Bob. One of the opportunities I've had in my life as I was growing in my business opportunities, I was brought in to work with a large organization. And the owner sat me down and said, here's what we're paying you, right? Here's your salary. And then said, and here's what I'm going to do. Quarter versus quarter, same quarter year after year. So quarter one of this year versus quarter one of last year. He says, I'm going to take total profit of quarter one last year. I'm going to take total profit of quarter one this year. So they're fair, right? Market would be the same. All that kind of stuff would happen. I'm going to give you 25% of the increase in profit. So if you go out and make us no money, There is no bonus. If you go out and make us $1,000, you'll get $250. If you go out and make us $10,000, right, we'll give you $2,500. So it helped me want to bring down expenses. It helped me not want to charge things to the organization. It helped me say, oh, well, I'm going to be out. I'll just put an expense account in for my lunch. No, I made the sandwich that morning, right? Little cheap, right? Save money. And how do I help more income come in? Because I was specifically tied my compensation for the value creation. I sat there and created value knowing that 25% of all the profit increase was going to go right back into my pocket. And that's because the owner was sitting there going, look, I'm making enough money. There's enough that I'm going to give you a big chunk of it when you go make me more, because I didn't have to do a damn thing for you to get me 75% more profit.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, Ben uses this strategy all over the place.
Yeah. If you want entrepreneurs, that's there. And if you're looking for ideas how to make it work, just reach out to one of us, right? If you're saying, here's my employee situation, what do I do? Where do I offer these compensation opportunities? Let us know. We'll see how we can help you make it happen. All right, Bob. So first I said, as we talked about these 6 lessons, go from task management to outcome ownership, okay? Then go to the financial scoreboard. Teach it so they're invested in it and you're open about it. Bring the 3 before me rule, right? Make them come with solutions. Give autonomy with guardrails so they understand the limits. Align compensation to value creation. Bob, take the last one for us. Start it off there, because I think this is really powerful. This is not on them. This is now something we really have to do in the leadership role to help establish those intrapreneurs.
Just protecting the right for people to go out and make mistakes and kind of, I don't know, like fail forward, Chad.
Yeah. Talk a little bit about that. That's obvious, I think, when you say it. Have you ever failed in the business, right? Did Jonathan ever give you an opportunity? Did Ben ever give you an opportunity and you came back and went, yeah, I blew it, right? And what did it make you feel like when that happened? Obviously, you felt badly. You were
letting presumptuous of you to assume that I've made some mistakes that cost the company, many dollars.
Right? But at the same time, how did you feel that the leader in this situation, had your back so that you could go out and do it again? And it wasn't, well, I screwed up once, I'm just going to go hide in the corner.
Yeah. I think maybe just like a common thread. I'll use Ben because he's the most recent example. A common thread through a lot of the mistakes that we've made is, well, one, Ben has always been willing as the leader to take a portion of the blame, all of the blame if needed.
Yes, he does.
Publicly. All of the blame publicly if needed. Like, I've never once on something I messed up, right, been in a room with the rest of our leaders in our organization, had Ben go, Bob messed this up. And there have been plenty of times where he could have said, we did this thing because he thought it was the way to go and it was wrong. He's always, every single time, said, I own this one.
Yep.
That is protecting the right for me to go out and fail forward, because I'm like, oh my gosh, he's not even going to embarrass me in front of my peers or my colleagues in the room, who I think all kind of know it might have been my fault anyway, but he's basically co-signing. He co-signed the decision even though I made it.
Right.
Right. I made the decision, and had it gone amazingly, he would have stood in that room and said, Bob did this. Everybody give him a round of applause or whatever. Right. But when he failed, he would always stand in there and say, I messed this up.
He'd fall on the sword for you.
Yeah, he'd fall on the sword. And so that protects that right for me to feel like, man, I can make mistakes around here and I'm never going to be hung out to dry by Ben saying, I don't know what he was doing. By the way, this has happened in scenarios where he did not in advance co-sign the decision.
Right.
Right. But he essentially was co-signing me. He's like, I gave you power of attorney to make that decision. You made it. It was wrong. It was my fault for giving you power of attorney. I'm going to take the blame on that decision.
And maybe your guardrails got a little tighter then because of the mistake, yet never enough where it said no more decisions ever allowed by Bob. right? Because we want Bob to become an intrapreneur in the organization.
He's
we
been
want him to take that.
He's been very, like, I don't know that we celebrate our mistakes around here, right? Like in the traditional sense, but like we're not afraid to talk about them. We're not afraid to let the rest of the organization know Ben made a mistake or I made a mistake. But there is a difference, I think, between like a mistake of effort, Chad, or a mistake of the idea that I had, right? Or the execution of the idea, that like a mistake there versus, a mistake of, I don't know, integrity. Like I don't even call it a mistake of integrity. Yeah. I could think of, an individual that at one point decided that they weren't getting paid enough and found a way inside the company to make sure that they made some extra money, it was very like out of integrity. Right. That was a mistake. Like that wasn't even a mistake. That's like just poor integrity. And you're going to, that's going to be dealt with, and everybody's going to make sure that we know we don't do things like that around here. But I've never once in this organization in over a decade felt like a mistake I had made based on effort was penalized in any way.
Yeah. We might all have bad ideas or bad execution on what was a good idea. That's very different from getting in the face of a customer, calling them names, swearing at them, pushing them, punching them if it's a physical altercation in a real world scenario, and that kind of thing. That's very different, right? Sexual harassment, very different. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about protecting the right to take an idea to the next step, and when we might fail. Maybe it was a bad idea. Maybe it wasn't executed correctly. Protect your people so they're willing to take the next idea, because it might be the one that does work. Bob, if we're doing these 6 steps, we're going to have an organization around us. Maybe it's our family. Maybe it's our business team of people who take ownership into everything. So here's our challenge to you, audience. Take one of the 6 things we talked about and say, I'm going to work on that for this month. And then work on the next one for the next month. Until 6 months from now, they are all new things within you and your organization, because that's how you're going to go from here to there, wherever that is. And there you go. Folks, share this episode with someone. Take some ownership. Take an idea and say, hey, I want to execute. I want to get my team together to listen to this episode. You don't want to listen to Bob talk air conditioning? That's okay. Skip the first few minutes and take these 6 lessons to your team so that we can continue to help you continue to grow.
Chad, you ready for our last piece of TMI? The bladder has expired, my friend. I think this episode's over.
Until our next one, do good.